is Marina from Dark Star Astrology, and by request, I wasn't really going to do this, but I thought, well, all right, it might be interesting since there are a few parallels that I think may be interesting to explore, because obviously now it's Prince Harry and Meghan, in case you've been wondering, and and the comparisons with Edward and Mrs. Simpson, you know, the abdication crisis that happened in the 1930s. Now, also just other weird things, like I've actually been watching The Crown, that series with my daughter, and we were at the point where there was the abdication crisis, but also going back in time when they dug up a load of files of when Edward was involved with the Nazis as well. So, and then of course, Harry famously dressed up as was it Hitler or a Nazi? I don't know. In one of his parties. So now another thing is, like, say they dug up a picture of Nigel Farage as a student dressed up as Hitler. I mean, God, can you imagine the scandal? But because Harry's woke, it doesn't really matter that he dressed up as Hitler or a Nazi. Anyway, I thought that was quite funny. But yeah, so there's some weird mirrorings. I mean, obviously, Prince Harry's not involved, isn't involved with the Nazis or anything like that. But it's just kind of weird. And so I think Wallis was twice divorced, but Meghan was only once divorced. And I thought I'll have a look at the Davison charts as well, because I drew them up and I saw that they both had a similar aspect pattern going on in them as well, one called a trapeze. So we'll get into that as well. But first of all, I have not looked at their charts. I don't really know much about them both, really, to be honest. I haven't found them that interesting, apart from the fact they're supposed to be, the woke royals. So Prince Harry, let's have a look at his chart, because, he's got a yod, and this yod is pointing to the North Node and Ceres, and his moon, obviously the mother, and Ceres, that's tragedy, and they're conjunct as well, pretty close by. So this yod pointing to the North Node, his destiny, oh my God. I mean, he's got Murphak, which is the dragon slayer, the beheading arm of Perseus, which beheaded Medusa's head. He also has Alcyone, the Pleiades, on his North Node as well. Loads of mythology surrounding these stars. The stars, in Greek myth, the sisters, because of the 7 sisters in the sky, became stars because Zeus took pity on them, mourning the death of their family. So, there's mourning there. Plotinus says the Pleiades' role is to help seekers become consciously aware of divine knowledge and wisdom, which is why their etheric, astral and mental bodies must be purified before being able to integrate with that spiritual realm. The Pleiades represent a spiritual station where the perfect model within seekers is energized and come alive on Earth. So Prince Harry is supposed to be on this kind of mission, really, I guess, but it's also associated with bohemian lifestyles as well. Also, what else? Pleiades gives ambition, endeavour, gives preferment, honour and glory, not a good omen with regard to relationships to the opposite sex. So that's interesting. The Pleiades also cause bereavement, mourning, sorrows and tragedies. Obviously, the loss of his mother has really scarred him, and it's to do with these stars. I also found a fair few fatal car accidents and drug-related premature deaths on the celebrity list as well. So, hang on. I wondered if the death of his mother was on there as a car crash, but his uncle, actually, no, it's not his uncle, it's Prince Charles's uncle, Louis Mountbatten, I think. He had his Mars there, and he was killed in an IRA bomb attack. And some of the key words are wise, magical, scandalous, rocky relationships, disgraced, immoral, visionary, insightful. It's also associated with homosexuality as well, but that doesn't really apply to him. But I guess it is in the olden days, being homosexual was a scandalous thing. So these days, the equivalent would be, I guess, the trans thing. But anyway, that's nothing to do with him. But you could see that it is scandalous anyway, and the fact that he's married. I mean, you wouldn't think it was that scandalous, but the thing is with the royals, you could see going back in history. I mean, Princess Margaret, the trouble she went through just because she wanted to marry someone who had been divorced, and even though it wasn't really his fault, his wife left him. But anyway, so now it's okay. But back to Harry. So he has this yod pointing to the North Node, which is Alcyone. He has some demons to slay, and then his Ceres, which I think is very much signifying his mother as well. That's on Algol, which is Medusa. So, it's a very fated chart. And the other side of the yod is actually Pluto and Jupiter. And, it's Neptune. So Pluto, Neptune, and Neptune being deception and glamour and the press, and it kind of goes with what. I mean, there was so much mystery surrounding Diana's death anyway, and conspiracy theories. So that's also related to Neptune too. Now, the big Capricorn stellium, all of that is trining his sun. So I don't know if I think this is going to be beneficial for him, really. I mean, they can't really lose. No matter what, they are. I think he'll get away with it. I don't think anyone will see this as a bad thing, even though, I think if they're going to retire from the royal life, they shouldn't really have the privilege that go with it, the title and everything. Apparently they've set up a website with, or they've taken the name Royal Sussex or something, or they've copyrighted it, something like that. But anyway, he's not going to suffer from this, really, by the looks of this. I mean, this has happened during this big stellium conjunction thing, and it's in his first house as well. So what I found interesting, though, that the announcement was just before the eclipse, which was on Meghan's ascendant. So this was the lunar eclipse that was on, January the 10th, 2 days ago. And it was the one that I called cellmates or soulmates. So, I mean, maybe they felt imprisoned by their duties and their royal duties. But I thought it was quite interesting that that's going on. So her ascendant is at 24 of Cancer, but that also means that she's getting all the Capricorn stellium at 22 degrees and the Pluto conjunct Saturn on her descendant. So, and this is her partner. So Harry's going through some big changes within himself, evolutions. Now, it's interesting as well that she's got Pollux, the bad twin, as her rising star. So she's always going to be seen as a bit of a minx and a bit of a diva, really. And she also has Mars in her first house as well. So Mars it's not on any particular star, but it's in Cancer as well. So it's not really a sort of feisty Mars, but because it is in the first house, it kind of makes it a bit more Aries. And she's got that as part of an eye aspect pattern. So all eyes on her. But she's also got her ascendant on Procyon as well, which is the announcer star. So it's a broadcaster. And she's got Eris up on her midheaven as well. So she's always going to be seen as a bit of a Lilith figure. Forbidden fruit for Harry. You knew he was always going to be different in his choice of wife, you know. Yeah, he just is. Meghan's also got Algarab on her IC, so her ancestry is the crow and can be a little bit, what's the word? Gossipy, shall we say? And we know the crows are tricky. Boris Johnson's got the crow rising, so you can't really trust them. So I don't know, like her parents, there's a bit of confusion there. You know, why didn't her dad come to the wedding? I don't know. I don't know anything about her parents, so I can't really talk about them. But I'm just reading her chart. She's got Moon conjunct Saturn and Jupiter as well. So she's kind of, she's kind of born to be someone royal, you know, a real star, because Jupiter and Saturn together, I mean, they call that the Messiah aspect. And she's got that, like, sextile her Sun and Mercury. Well, Mercury more. But what's interesting about both Harry and Meghan's charts is none of them have got any red aspects at all. It's all easy trines and the sort of communication aspect of the quincunx, or also really quite, and it's the adjustment aspect. So they're kind of adjusting. They're able to attract things to them and be harmonious, but without having any red aspects, which is quite unusual actually. And for both of them to have that, is that they're not really, they're not really proactive in the things that they do in their life. Things just happen to them. So it's interesting that they're actually doing this, because it seems like, it's something that's kind of quite proactive and quite, what's the word? Sort of ambitious and, Marsy. Like, oh, we're going to do this and we can look after ourselves, which is what the red aspects do. But actually, they really can't look after themselves. So I don't think they're going to be as independent as they think. But the thing is, they don't really need to do anything, do they? Because they're just going to get offers left, right and centre. They're just, they won't have to do anything. So, yeah, I don't think this kind of like, oh, yeah, we're going to be so independent. I don't think they will be. It's just a bit of a joke, really, isn't it? Yeah. I'm actually quite surprised at Meghan's chart, because it doesn't look like how I presume she is. It's quite timid. Like, it's all below the horizon. There's no red aspects, there's no squares, there's no oppositions, and it's just it's like putty in somebody's hands. So it's kind of it's I don't see her as being this kind of like radical activist type at all. I mean, yeah, Mars is in her first house, but Cancer, it's Mars in Cancer and Cancer rising. So I don't know, maybe she's easily swayed by people who are more sort of activistic and saying to her things like, yeah, you show them, Meghan, you're not, I don't know. I think she's being triggered. I don't think this is so much her doing, really. Or maybe it's just when her and Harry get together, but even he, like I said, he hasn't got any red aspects either. Because red aspects really are the igniters, they're the things that get things done in the chart. So for them not to have that is weird. But I think it's probably in the Davison. So let's look at that. Yeah, you see, putting them together, they get a really, really interesting chart. Separately, they're actually both quite boring. But it's because of who they are, and when you put them together, it's like, ooh, royal, ooh, Hollywood actress, divorced, and also is of mixed race origin, which to the royal family is probably quite scandalous. Or I don't know, is it? I don't know, but I mean, to me, it doesn't seem to be. But I think people are making of this a lot more than it is. No, I'll look at that later because I've got an example of what they used to write about Lady Diana. And I mean, I remember Fergie. Oh my God, the amount of tabloid insults she had. That's Sarah Ferguson, Prince Andrew's wife, about being ginger and being fat and her dress sense. Like she just, next to Diana, she was always being compared to Diana. Diana was so slim and gorgeous and fashion model and tasteful, and Fergie was just, I don't know, just rough. Poor woman. So yeah, she always, next to Diana, she could never measure up. Now, next to Kate, I mean, Kate's fairly boring, and at least Meghan is a bit more glamorous. So, but still, they're not really as what's the word? Either of them, I don't think they're that entertaining as Diana was and Fergie for Sarah Ferguson. So I think they're just trying to make a drama out of something that's actually not that interesting, to be honest. But anyway, people are interested in it, so I'll talk about it. Anyway, let's go to this trapeze figure and what it means. See, what it's composed of is two learning triangles, and the trapeze is on this between Ceres, Venus, then down to the North Node, and then across to Pluto. So that's it. It's that kind of box thing, and then it's got two quincunxes, the greeny colour aspect across the middle. So with this aspect, it says this is a large aspect figure that encompasses the centre of the horoscope. That means that the person must be true to himself and not do anything that goes against their inner convictions. He can turn around easy, quickly change from one side to the other. I mean, it's a trapeze. Okay. The person is either active, intense, and works tenaciously to carry out his plans, or is passive, hedonistic, and lazy. Sometimes this polarity expresses itself so strongly that he goes from one extreme to the other. Okay, repetition. The person with the trapeze figure always goes over everything twice. He learns by repetition. I mean, I don't know whether this really describes them. But then there's also this crisis mechanism, it says. So there is a process that conditions growth by continual crisis mechanism that presents great opportunities for development. So yeah, because it's the learning triangles within it as well. So actually, together they do make sense. They probably, I mean, there's a lot of sort of saying that, oh God, Meghan's led him astray. It's like this sort of Yoko Ono kind of thing. And, Wallis as well with Edward and Mrs. Simpson. And yeah, they had the same thing. Look at that. They had the same with, it looks like, was it Pluto? Oh, no, sorry, Neptune, Venus, down to Uranus and to the node as well. It's interesting, the nodes. So, well, they had Zosma rising, which is victim or saviour. They really were the victims of they really did get the press really slamming them. I don't think they're going to get attacked that much. Anyway, let's look at the transits to the Davidson. Now, this is pretty uncanny. Look at all that. Look at Capricorn, stellium bang on there. Well, not bang on it, but pretty much 3 degrees away from their midheaven. So that this is them as a couple. And you can see that Ceres is up there as well. The whole sort of Princess Diana. I think that's kind of like her shadow almost on top of their relationship. And they have, actually, let's just look at their chart a bit more because I just got caught into that trapeze thing. Yeah, they're the 80s kids, and they're also very much millennials as well because of that Jupiter technology with Uranus squaring their sun. And also, yeah, in that trapeze as well, it's Ceres square Pluto as well. So the whole kind of Persephone, underworld sort of aspect of their relationship. I mean, I don't know. I don't see it as being too much of a sort of, I don't know, deep state thing, maybe? I don't know. Actually, Ceres is also square Mars as well. Oh, sorry, it's not square, sextile Mars. So, but Mars is quincunx the Pluto. So there is something a little bit sinister about it in that chart there. I don't know. Yeah, and the moon in it is on Procyon, which is the announcer star. They're going to do so well. I mean, they're just going to be celebrities. They're going to be Hollywood celebrities because this has never happened before. I mean, with Edward and Mrs. Simpson, they just kind of skulked off to France and lived in exile. And I mean, I think they did a few little interviews, but I don't think they didn't, you know, there wasn't the media, there wasn't the whole celebrity kind of obsession that we have now, and with, you know, with Instagram. And I mean, you can just imagine it, can't you? Instagram account, you know, what's Archie doing today? I mean, yeah, they're not going to be wanting for money. Also in there, Davidson, you've got the moon conjunct their IC on Procyon, so it's like they've come from the roots of this whole relationship is broadcasting and propaganda, actually. Yeah, my feeling was that they were sort of brought into or Meghan was brought into the royal family to kind of update it and make it kind of hip and progressive. And they use that word as well, that they want to sort of strike their own kind of thing and be a progressive couple. And by doing this, they are. And at the same time, they're really sort of calling the shots and not having to do the dutiful thing. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to make a point of, this is why I don't understand why divorce now is fine with the royal family, even though watching The Crown, they made such a big deal about Princess Margaret marrying someone divorced because the Queen is supposed to represent the Church of England. She is the defender of the faith in our country. She's the highest religious figure in the country. There's no one above her. She's like the Pope for the Church of England. So for someone in her family to be marrying a divorcee, it looks wrong. It's you're setting a bad example. So that's why she couldn't let Margaret do that, her sister, in The Crown. And I just don't understand why it's suddenly okay. I mean, they even got married in a church. They had a priest, didn't they? So I thought you couldn't marry in a church if you were divorced. Well, you can't if you're a Catholic. But anyway, so it's a bit like, oh, well, you can bend the rules if you're royal, which, yeah, anyway. So they're having it both ways, aren't they, really? They've got the privilege and, all the good things about being in that family, but none of the sort of the downsides, because that's the thing. If you're born into that, and you can sort of see it quite clearly in The Crown, they show it all the time. You're sort of this kind of prisoner of privilege, really. And there are certain things you can't do. Otherwise, Otherwise, I don't know, otherwise they're just freaking really lucky. So you got to think, oh, there's a bad point. There's a difficult side to having been born with a platinum spoon in your mouth, you know. There are supposed to be downsides, but this way they don't get any of the downsides. So what we've really lost here is what royalty used to be was the representation of the church. In fact, church and state were kind of quite bound in royalty. That's the whole, the coronation is a religious thing. It's done in the cathedral where all the monarchs are buried, and there's supposed to be something very almost sacred about royalty. I mean, in the past, when royalty went out on their walkabouts, whatever they did, it was believed that they could cure people just by touching them. And so they were sort of seen in quite a sort of messianic kind of have that kind of role. So that has been lost now, and but then it's like, well, what's the point of them? Because they have no political power. They're not upholding Church of England values or Christian values at all anymore. Well, I guess they are. It's only Meghan Markle who isn't. So that's the problem I have with it. It's not anything about her personally. It's just the hell that other people had to go through before because they were divorced, including Charles. Yeah, and suddenly, it's okay for him to marry Camilla too. I mean, I didn't get that. Ugh. Anyway, so yeah, that's the main issue. Oh yeah, so another thing, I wanted to read out what this columnist said about Lady Di. This is a copy of an early, maybe I should, I'll take a photo of it, 3 a.m. News, August the 31st, 1997, was when Diana died in the car crash. But at this point, the headline was Princess in Horror Car Crash, Dodie Dead, Diana Critical. So I bought it. So I think I was out really early, and I was in Tesco and I saw it and I thought, I've got to buy that. Because I think we'd heard that she was dead, but they still had these papers out. So I thought, that might be something collectible in the future. So I bought it. But then inside, because obviously this was printed it was a special edition, but they kept whatever was inside it was as it would have been for the normal edition. So they didn't know that she was obviously going to die. So there's a columnist called O Malone. She tells it the way it is. You can't just put Carol down. So she wrote, be clever like Camilla and clam up, Di. So this is in the same bloody paper as... Anyway, so the headline is, she needs publicity like the rest of us need air. So she starts off saying, it's a pity Gucci don't make designer face zips. Then when Princess Diana was on the verge of opening her ill-informed mouth and causing an international incident, in brackets, an increasingly frequent occurrence these days, she could just zip her trap shut. This week she claimed she was stitched up by the French newspaper Le Monde because they quoted her as saying that while the Labour Party were supporting her landmines campaign, the Tories had been, in commas, hopeless, in quotes, sorry. However, now that the horse manure has hit the fan and Diana has been accused of doing what's a definite no-no in the royal family, i.e. meddling in politics, she has come over all wounded and persecuted and is even denying she ever said it. I've been stitched up, she has wailed. She also said, the princess, I fear, suffers from open God before brain engages syndrome, a condition which affects the trivial and the brain dead. Blimey. So, yeah, it just slags her off. It just goes on. But, yeah, Diana was really getting it just before her death. I remember it really, really strongly. So it just happens. It just happens to any woman that is a little bit undignified, I guess, or doesn't play the sort of stiff upper lip traditional royal role, and that's what's kind of expected of them. But we want, I guess, I don't know what we want from the royal family anymore, whether we even want them at all. But I must admit, I wouldn't like to see them go. I'm not really a Republican that way, but at the same time, I don't know whether this is the start of it, you know, because at the moment we do have Pluto opposite the moon of the UK chart. And I remember when I was looking at before to do with Brexit, I thought it's got to happen, this Brexit as well. But I think this is like also concerning the royal family, the Queen. I mean, normally it's the... And let's look at the UK chart. Yeah, I really like the chart of the UK with that yod to Pluto there. But yeah, the chart for today for the UK has, because it's precessed, so it's moved everything back, you get Saturn, Pluto, Ceres, which is kind of like to do with I think kind of conservative values, traditional values, family values, and also the ancestors as well, with the sun all opposite the UK moon. And yeah, I was going to say, normally the sun would represent the head of state on a nation's chart, but the moon is the queen, and we are talking about also a princess too. So it is like female royal, and this moon is in the 10th house, up in the world for everyone to see, very much about how England comes across. And yeah, its queens have been pretty, and I mean, I know that we've had mainly kings, obviously, but all our queens have been big deals, like very long reigns as well, like Queen Elizabeth I and then Victoria. They've all been very significant. So now with this queen, you know, she's seen so many changes. Like, will she be the last royal? You know, I don't know. But anyway, I just think today, I don't know what's in the news. Hang on, let me have a look at the news and see what they're saying about this whole thing. Oh, right. So today, a royal showdown at Sandringham looms over Harry and Meghan's decision to go it alone. Huh, alone, yeah. Yeah, right. And let's see what it says. This is CNN. Oh, okay. So the royal family will hold a summit tomorrow. So yeah, while this is such a big deal. The Guardian says Harry and Meghan seek global trademark for Sussex royal brand. Filing suggests plans for items and activities from clothing to emotional support groups. Oh my God, they're such millennials, aren't they? Okay, I've been trying to find out why they have decided to step down, and there's nothing. I mean, I don't think Harry's made any statement about it. I can't seem to find anything. And then I got to page 2, and the first thing was from the New York Times. So this says, opinion, Black Britons know why Meghan Markle, I always call her Merkel, sorry, it's Markle, wants out. And then in small letters underneath, it's the racism. So this says, the British press has succeeded in its apparent project of hounding Meghan out of Britain. The part it perhaps didn't bargain for, however, is the loss of Prince Harry, a much-loved royal and key part of the family's global brand, along with her. Well, you know, that's why I wanted to read that thing out about Diana, because she was hounded to death. I mean, that's how bad it was with her. Okay, so I didn't know, because I don't read the media, so I don't know how they've been treating her. But the New York Times says, from the very first headline about her being almost straight out of Compton. What does that mean? Oh, right. So this is from the Daily Mail. Well, Daily Mail, yeah. This is going on about that her mum grew up in this very rundown, gang-scarred home. That's what it says here. And they're just kind of comparing the two different upbringings. That's all. I don't see anything that bad. I mean, it's just a story. The press do that, you know. They called Diana a commoner as well. And she was hardly a commoner. She still was aristocracy. But anyway, yeah, I'm just looking at more evidence of this terrible hounding. This is another article from the Daily Mail which mentions that she has exotic DNA. So apparently that's racist as well. But actually, when you read into it, she's just going on. She just said, oh, yeah, that's it. Nobody cares that Miss Markle is mixed race or a tease, but racy is a different story. Racy is not official wife material. Flirty Harry has met his match, and that means one thing. Yeah, the headline is, sorry, Harry, but your beautiful bolter has failed my mum test. I mean, Rachel Johnson wrote this. That's Boris Johnson's sister. Oh, okay. Anyway, there's numerous examples, and yeah, of course you can pick out. There's probably going to be loads because, again, as I've said, any wife of a royal gets this roasting, every single one, unless you're pure as the driven snow and you have nothing exciting or racy about you. God, probably the wrong use of word, but yeah. Actually, that was her use of words. Rachel, naughty. But the point is, you're never going to know. You're going to never know. You can always say that. It's always going to be, this is going to be always played as she was hounded and not seen in the context of historical houndedness of other royals. So anyway, again, let's get back to the astrology. Let's see what's in store for them. I mean, I think if they wanted to come out of the spotlight, that this is the wrong way to do it, because now, I mean, I wasn't interested in them at all, really, at all. But now, well, I'm still not really, but everyone else seems to be. So I thought, all right, we'll look into it. But I just think there's so many important things going on in the world, and it's like, this has been blown up into this big crisis. But then so was Iran as well. That was World War III. So I just think everything at the moment is just being exaggerated because there's so much on this degree. You know, there's so much happening in Capricorn. So maybe it's all the things that are around 20 to 23 degrees of Capricorn are being just inflated to kind of histrionic proportions. I mean, that's really what's happening. But other than that, they don't really have any other transits going on that are of much of a big deal. I think next year, when Jupiter's on their midheaven, I think they'll have some huge publicity. Maybe it'll be a film. I don't know. I don't know what will come with that. But they'll definitely be in the spotlight then. Let's see when that will happen. Yeah, that's December the 13th. They'll get Saturn on the midheaven and also Jupiter. So December the 13th, 2020, God knows what will happen. Also, they'll have Uranus opposite their Saturn as well, which is the ruler of their midheaven. So expect some big announcement then, maybe another kid, could be, but some major publicity for them. I can't imagine what it would be, but yeah, I think they're going to be in the news a lot. They are over 2020. It's just going to run and run. It's like Diana all over again. I mean, God, she used to make the headlines. They said at one time she was the most famous woman in the world because she was always in the news. And in a way, she really started all the kind of good cause thing with the royals. I mean, I know they've always done charity stuff, but she really did seem to be very hands-on, you know, with the kissing AIDS victims and holding their hands and being very tactile with them. That was a really big deal at the time. And the landmines as well. She did, to me, she seemed pretty genuine with that. It didn't seem like she was just doing it for publicity. And then there was whatever we want to call it, the ritual sacrifice, whatever, when she died in the accident, then there's too many weird things around Diana. And for me to think that she was someone who was being used for an agenda, it didn't seem like it. Or maybe was, because then you've got the trauma of her death as well, and the amount of people that put all those flowers down. I mean, it was a big deal. So yeah, sorry, we're going on to other territory now. But with these two, I don't know. We'll see. But I think, yeah, they're going to have an eventful year. I think they're being politicised a hell of a lot, and as usual. But then everything is. It's just part of the clown world. All right then. So I'll leave it there, and that's it. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.